Welcome, everybody, to the Compliance Alliance Power Half Hour. And today we're going to be talking about enhancing compliance and safety around incident reporting and the use of cameras. And the guest we have with us today is somebody who is a perfect expert to talk about this. Hi, Christina. Nice to see you.
Hey, Hyland, thank you so much for having me today. I'm truly excited to be here.
Well, when we were planning for this session, what really made me think you would be the best person to be talking with our audience about this is, although you work with PB&J TV, and that's where you get a front seat about all this, you've been a former center owner, you've been a director, you work on the operational side with owners and directors and operators. So you bring a level of expertise. You've been in the chair of the person who has to deal with compliance.
I've been in the trenches. You're right, Lynn. I've been in those trenches, feet on the ground. When I started, I was a toddler teacher. Could you imagine how many reports you have to write as a toddler teacher? And then there's biting and they trip and fall and their forehead gets bumped. So I started off as a toddler teacher through schooling, my education, and then I worked my way up and I became a director, a district manager, and an owner, right? So I have been on both sides of the equation as the supervisor, as the risk, the liability lies on me. So this was a really great presentation to come up with. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Well, they're here to hear you and not me. So why don't we get right into it? Take it away. And I can't wait to see what you have to share with us today.
Well, thank you, Lynn, so much, like I said, for having me. I truly admire what you're doing with the Compliance Alliance, how you're helping schools not just meet, but exceed the quality of standards to create the best learning environments. Really, thank you for doing that. So as Lynn, how you mentioned, I have over 17 years of experience in early childhood from teacher to owner. And it's given me the firsthand experience, like we mentioned, right? Challenges ensuring the safety, the compliance, maintaining the compliance, supporting our staff in high pressure situations. One of the most critical aspects of our role is that we do in handling incidents effectively is not just to meet the compliance requirements, but to build trust with families, correct? And most importantly, to keep our children safe. Now, before I dive into this presentation, let me just give you an overview of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about our incident investigation, reporting, and how playback video can be a powerful tool for not just learning, but for accurate reporting and reinforcing training protocols through training.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead and dive in. So the importance of safety and compliance. I mean, I feel like Lynn, you and I can preach this all day long. And safety isn't just a requirement. It's literally the foundation of a well-run center, of a well-run program. It sets the foundation. We all know that incidents will happen, right? There's licensing requirements because we know it happens. Now, it's not that an incident isn't going to happen. It's how do we respond when it happens and how do we document them? That's going to define our leadership. That's going to define our compliance, correct? It's also going to create trust and accountability. When incidents occur, our families rely on us for transparency and accuracy. As a parent myself, if I ever had an incident report for one of my children, if it didn't have all the details, I asked for more details, correct? And that to me wasn't a well-written report if I had to ask. Compliance and protection. Proper documentation ensures we're all meeting licensing requirements. Now, each state does have different requirements, but they're generally the same. And it also helps us reduce liability and risks. And then continuous improvement, correct? While we're investigating situations, if we notice that there's a trend that's occurring, maybe there's one area in our playground that children keep tripping and falling, or there's one carpet that's like ragged and children are injuring themselves, whatever it may be, that's going to alert us of an improvement we need to do and take care of. And then that's going to help us with our staff training and supervision as well. Because if maybe it's one specific classroom that's having these incidents or accidents, let's look at, what trends we're seeing.
What I love about that as you're moving along with your slides, but what I love about that is it's a proactive mindset. So sometimes it's not until we see it in a replay or we get a different set of eyes or it's after an incident, but we can be looking at it, but it does allow us not only to look at the trends, but to be proactive. I love that.
Yes, it's all about the proactive approach. So cameras, as you know, come with like a 50-50. You either love them or you hate them. When I first started in the industry, to be honest with you, and it's rare, right? I work for PB&J and I'm saying that. When I first started in the industry, I was like, oh my gosh, there's cameras in this school. Like, what's happening? They're going to be watching me 24/7. No one's watching you 24/7, really. Like, a director is so busy, an owner is so busy. No one is sitting there watching 24/7. It's actually a super valuable tool in risk mitigation. Now, whether you offer, family engagement or not, that's your preference. But I do believe that cameras are almost a necessity right now in centers. When I first became a director, I saw video monitoring as a family engagement tool, correct? I was so naive. I was like, no, I don't want cameras. I don't want parents to see what's going on. And over time, I realized that it was, like I said, one of the most valuable risk mitigation tools available. Video footage, it removes any like ambiguity, right? There is no questions, there's no conflicting stories. We're getting facts, correct? No one can say anything. The facts are there. It strengthens also your staff accountability, correct? And we're going to be able to provide constructive feedback if needed to a staff. Maybe an incident occurred and the procedures weren't followed, and it's not like we're getting people in trouble, but it's now we're going to use this as a training tool. I used to always like to, if there was an incident, to be transparent, once I grew in my career and we had cameras, I would sit down with the staff and be like, hey, I just want you to watch this for a little bit. Like, let's discuss this. Tell me what you observed. And then when they self-reflect, they actually get to see the facts, correct? So it's not about catching the mistakes. It's about the learning, the improving, and the protecting of everyone involved.
Agreed.
Go to my next slide. So this is a screenshot of, say you have cameras in your classroom, you want to go back and you're going to do the video playback, correct? So it's part of your incident investigation and it's going to transform how we handle our safety and training. So they confirm the accuracy of the reports. There's no guessing, there's no misinterpretation. So first thing, incident occurs, okay? We're going to review the video. We're going to have accurate, detailed reporting. And then we're going to train and prevent. Same thing I just said. It encourages our proactive measures, correct? Reiterating, it identifies our areas for safety, for improvement before problems can escalate.
Can I just ask here when you say a tool for leadership? So the incident occurs, the video review, just to clarify, because you touched on something that make a lot of owners nervous is who gets to see this. So you have full control over that, whether it's PB&J or perhaps even others, but it's having a standard operating procedure like those arrows on the bottom, incident occurs, video, and so forth. Who has access to that and what are the controls one would have?
That's a great question. I can speak specifically on the PB&J TV side. Everything that we do on the admin app. So there's two apps within PB&J TV. There's our administrative app and our administrative dashboard, and then there's the family engagement app. The administrative dashboard is user-based permission and it's at different levels. So for example, I may have office staff that does need access to video, but maybe not all video, not all rooms. Or my director needs access to audio and my office staff does not need access to audio. So it's very customizable how you allow for viewing on this, just because there is privacy involved. And, you know, it's also about trust. And there's a lot of confidentiality that happens in our centers. So, yeah, it's just staff permission with PB&J TV.
Thank you. That helps.
So, the role of incident reports and compliance. So incident reports are often seen as just paperwork, or if you have a parent engagement app, you're filling something out. But in reality, they're your first line of defense in safety and compliance. If anything happens, they protect you. They protect the children and staff by documenting the events clearly, right? They provide a record for licensing and compliance inspection. If something was to occur at your school and a parent wanted to report it, do you have the incident there? Did you self-report if it needed a self-reporting? They help identify, like I said before, the trend analysis. They're going to help identify safety trends within our schools to reduce recurring issues. And this is where we really need to, again, we learn with our growth and progress. I remember I used to have a folder, a binder with all my incident reports, and every month we filed them. It took me years to start saying, let's track this. Is there a trend? Is there a specific classroom or a staff member? Or, you know, we always know that biting child, but you start to know the children, but are we also getting to see the other trends that are occurring, you know, through these reports? So these reports are data. Data is important when we're running a business as well and keeping our children safe. And then a well-written report is more than just formality. It's actually the essential piece of your risk management and safety plan. Without this, it's anyone can go against you. So now let's talk about the key components of a strong report. And I know there's a lot of words on this slide, but there's a lot of regulation that goes with this. So an effective incident report is going to have the basic information of time, date, location, names of people involved, not first names. I want first and last names we need, because there can be 100 Christinas, there can be 100 Lyns, but which Lynn specifically was involved, which Christina was specifically involved. Objective description, we're going to stick to facts. Yes. No opinions. We're not going to make an assumptions that because the carpet was ragged or whatever, they tripped and fell. Or whatever it may be, it's they tripped and fell while walking. Whatever, we're not going to assume any reasoning for anything. Response and actions taken, and I'm going to go through an example of one of these on our next slide. But what was done immediately to assist the child or manage a situation? Or maybe it was a staff member. You know, are you writing these incident reports for your staff members as well? Because they're just as important. Witness statements. If it was an incident that required a child's statement and the child is old enough to communicate, let's get that. Parent notification. On my incident reports, I used to have attempt 1, 2, and 3. So if the rules were, if it was an injury, shoulders and above, it was a phone call to the parents, no matter what it was, and anything below, they would get it at pickup. So if it was a phone call to the parents, attempt 1, and we would notate like we left a voicemail or we spoke to mom or who we spoke to as well. Because that's also going to hold you the accountability. And then follow-up actions. What adjustments, if any, were made to prevent the future injury? So for example, if we go back to that frayed rug, we're going to remove that rug from our classroom and we're going to get a new rug.
just to clarify on this too, on which I love all the detail that is on that slide about what should be captured. So in this situation that we're talking about here, whether it's a paper-based system or through your center management software, whatever it happens to be, to have the SOP, like you said, it was very crystal clear. Shoulders and above was a call to the parent, shoulders and below, the documentation, but there's software that helps with that, or paper-based. But either way, I just really want to emphasize the point of consistent documentation, because
Yes,
it's not documented
it's
consistent,
not real.
it's not real, and it's open for interpretation. So I just really wanted to park there for a second, because we all have the best intentions, and sometimes you hear things like, we just don't have time. Even if it is a bump below, shoulders and below, it still needs to be documented, because what may not have appeared, again, might have just been a skinning of the knee, could have actually turned out to be something greater. But if you haven't documented it, then you're going back and trying to do it retroactively. And nobody's memory is that good. So I loved what you said about that.
Well, and to be honest with you, from a mom perspective, right? Poor people that have to deal with my children, because I'm like, so my son broke his arm in school, and I don't want to take up too much time, but there was no proper documentation. And they didn't really take his injury seriously. And when he went to the office, obviously he's in middle school, but when he went to the office, they just said, "Oh, you're fine. Here's some ice." There was no record of it or anything. When he was picked up from school, his arm was broken. So it really goes to show, like, that school had to go back and play through their camera footage to be able to tell me what happened. I wanted to know. So it's really important we document this, and also take what our children say serious. And even if we didn't see it, be like, Johnny was playing basketball and he tripped and fell and scraped his knee. I didn't see it, but this is what Susie and Johnny say that happened when they were playing. But at least there's documentation of the injury.
Agreed.
Now, we talked about we already started talking about the best practices for writing incident reports, but I just wanted to show a quick example. So here's one that has the date, the time, the location, outdoor playground, the child's first and last name, the age, incident description. While playing on the slide, Lily slipped and fell, landing on her right knee. So now we're going to list which specific knee. She immediately began crying and appeared to be in discomfort. A small red mark and minor abrasion on the right knee was our injury. Staff actions taken. Teacher, Miss Jones, immediately attended to Lily, providing comfort and checking the injury. Then what was done? A cold compress was applied to the knee. So that's how we took care of it. So many times I would get an incident report from my staff that says, "We gave her TLC." Well, what is TLC, right?
Right.
I know it's tender loving care, but what was that? Did you put ice? Did you put a Band-Aid? Did you wash it? Let's list the details. Because if mom gets a copy of that incident report that says we gave her TLC, mom doesn't like that. It's not up to her standard. We didn't tell mom what we did. So Lily was observed then for further discomfort and monitored throughout the morning. Witnesses, there we go. Follow-up actions. Parents were notified of the incident upon pickup. Playground equipment was inspected to ensure safety, and a reminder about proper slide usage was given during circle time. So now we just went through the whole entire process. And Lynn, I would love to know, does this give you any questioning? Is there any room for interpretation here, or?
It's very factual, and behind the scene on this, like you've already pointed to, is there would be potentially a staff meeting follow-up, which is what could we have done better or differently to prevent this in the future. But that's internal. But I've got the snapshot point in time of what exactly happened.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I know leveraging playback, this is where we need to just get the mindset of cameras are for getting people in trouble, because they're actually not. I always say there's areas for improvement everywhere and we all have opportunities, but let's review real scenarios that are happening in our center. Let's review actual injuries or actual biting scenarios. We're going to maintain privacy. These are going to be during staff meetings. They're not going to be shared with parents. And these are for training sessions. How did we react to a certain scenario? Again, it's going to identify recurring issues. Maybe we start talking about all of our incident reports. Like we had 27 biting reports this month, 26, knee scrapes, however, and you just show the facts so that your staff's more aware and more vigilant. Sorry. And it's gonna enhance your staff confidence, right? It's going to prepare them of trends that they've seen of a similar incident and how to react. We're going to create a culture that's going to help you create a culture of continuous learning and safety. I'm all about having a culture of safety in the school. And by discussing these issues during your staff meeting, by reviewing the playback, or even if you don't want to show a video, but you just show a snippet of a scenario that occurred and how it was handled, and open it up for discussion. It's not an embarrassment. We're a team effort. How do we fix this?
Yes.
So long-term benefits, like I just said, being proactive, having a safety culture. So when we take a proactive approach to everything, to safety, to compliance, you're going to see long-lasting benefits. It's going to increase the trust between your parents, your staff's going to feel confident. Everyone's going to know and feel that safety practices are a must in your school. It's going to reduce your liability. Thorough documentation, right? Protects the staff, protects you, it protects your center, it protects everyone involved. Better training and preparedness. Like I said, we're going to have our staff ready to respond to incidences because we're using our video playback that maybe happened in one classroom. We're sharing it school wide so we can prepare, right? We don't know what to prepare for until we're there.
Right.
And then again, I'll reiterate this. It's not about reacting to incidents. Safety is about, being proactive. So if we can just prevent them, and then how we react to them is the overall goal here. Oh, I just went through, I'm going backwards. I'm so sorry.
There we are.
Right. Key takeaways. So to wrap up, the most important key takeaways from today's session were incident reports must be thorough, factual. We're not going to leave it with opinions, and compliant, thorough and compliant. Incident playback strengthens report accuracy and staff training. A proactive safety culture reduces risk and liability. Leadership starts with accountability and clear documentation. And it's not just documentation on your report. I'm going to reiterate what you said, Lynn, on our SOPs. What procedures do you have so that your staff knows what to do next?
Yeah.
So that's all I have for you today. If you wanted to learn more about PB&J TV, feel free to contact me here. Lynn is going to share with you all a sample of an incident report and best practices on an SOP for your incident reports. Have a great day.
Outstanding, Christina. Thank you so much for this. It was to the point what we really need to be mindful of. Something that our two companies care passionately about, which is why PB&J TV is one of our business allies, is a culture of safety to mitigate risk and limit liability. We as an industry aren't as typically talking about that. We like to talk about our ratios, and we like to talk about our curriculum and our core values. And I'm not saying those aren't important, but as a parent, and when we talk with parents, when they pull away from the school after they've just dropped off their child, are they thinking about your ratios and your curriculum and your building? What are they thinking about?
Their child safety.
Their child's safety, and is it going to meet the standard that I have for how I would care for my child when they're in my own care? So that's what I love about our business ally relationship, is that we share that. And I want to encourage those that are listening to this is take a look to see how you're talking about safety on your website. It's one of the first things we do at the Compliance Alliance is to talk about, tell me what your culture of safety is. What does it look like? And then we go through an exercise of, let's look at your website. How would I know that this was a priority? So everything you just talked about internally for your staff, but even ways you can communicate that externally to parents of how you use streaming or technology and other ways to facilitate that is part of your message. And let's be bold about this and put forward to say, it's okay to talk about safety because the parents are thinking about it too.
Yeah, no, it's 100% okay because it's something we don't talk about much in our early childhood community, right? We always talk about, you hear the parents, oh, when they're going to kindergarten, what are we gonna do with all these things that occur? And I'm like, it happens in our building. We're just so aware because we're so regulated for those that maintain our compliance. That's why I feel like what you're doing is so important to set the standards for ECE with all of our compliance at an
Well,
early.
continue this conversation. I have more questions about some of what you can do with PB&J TV in a future episode, but thank you for bringing this important topic to light for us today, Christina. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great one.
Yeah.